everyone, welcome to today's GCSE Higher Revision video. There's 39 days to go to your GCSE Maths exam, and today we're going to be focused on percentages. So we're going to look at how to find percentages of amounts, so obviously using a non-calculator approach, but also using multipliers and using a calculator approach as well. We're going to look at how to increase things by percentage, decrease things by percentage, approach some wordy questions as well, so looking at questions which are in the context or situation where we're going to use percentages to work out the answer. Also, we're going to be looking at simple interest today. And so we've looked at compound interest before, but we're going to look at simple interest today. So that's obviously involved with percentages as well. So today we're going to be looking at percentages. There'll be lots of questions for you to try. So remember to press pause and try those questions as we go through the video. So let's get started.
Okay, so today we're going to be looking at a bit of a recap of percentages. So we're looking at percentages without a calculator, percentages with a calculator as well, and then we're going to be looking at simple interest. Okay, so in terms of our percentages, so work out 25% of 60 centimeters, work out 60% of 800, and work out 5% of 90. So feel free to press pause now and work out these percentages. And I've been really nice. I've given you part of the Corbettmaths revision card here. It's just a bit of a reminder for you. Hopefully you should be able to work these out without this. So feel free to just ignore that if you want to, but just work out these percentages now. Okay, so in terms of 25% of 60, to find 25% of something, you divide by 4. So 60 divided by 4, half of 60 is 30, half it again is 15, so that'll be 15 centimeters. And if you got that, well done. Okay, 60% of 800. Well, to do this, you could find 50%, which would be 400. You could find 10%, which is equal to 80, and add them together and get 480 that way. Alternatively, you could find 10%. So 10% would be equal to, divided by 10, 80. And then if we want 60%, well, that's just going to be 6 lots of 10%. So if we just multiply this by 6, that's going to be equal to 480. So that would be equal to 480. And finally, 5% of 90, well 10% of 90 is equal to 9. So if we want 5% of 90, that'd be half of that, which is equal to 4.5. So the answers are 15 centimeters, 480, and 4.5. And hopefully you got those. So it's going to be quite important, particularly in that non-calculator paper, that you're confident with working out percentages, whether it's your percentages like 25% or 75% or 50%, your 10% is 20%, 30%, things like that, even your 5%, even your 1%, 2%, 3%, and things like that. So think about how you can work out percentages of amounts without a calculator, because that's going to be quite important for that non-calculator paper. Okay, and obviously you're going to be doing calculator papers as well, so it's important you can work out percentages on a calculator. Okay, so here's a question for you to try. Can you find 19% of 240? Okay, so if we wanted to find 19% of 240, one approach would be to take our 240, to divide it by 100, so divide by 100, because dividing by 100 would tell us 1%, which would be equal to 2.4, and then just multiply by the percent you want. So 2.4 multiplied by 19 would be equal to 45.6. So we could divide by 100 to find 1%, and then multiply by 19 to find 19%. So that's one approach. Another approach is to change the percentage into a multiplier. So 19% would obviously be equal to 0.19 as a decimal. So you could just take the 240 and multiply by 0.19, and that'll tell you 19% of 240. And when you do that, you get an answer of 45.6, and that's it. So if you got that, well done. Okay, next question says find 73.6% of 820. So feel free to press pause now and find 73.6% of 820. Okay, so again, we could take our 820 and divide it by 100 to find 1%, which is 8.2. And then we just multiply that by the percentage we want. So 8.2 multiplied by 73.6 would be equal to 603.52. So that means that 73.6% of 820 would be 603.52. So that's one approach we could use, divide by 100 to find 1% and multiply by the percentage we want. Alternatively, we could change this percentage to a decimal. So that as a decimal would be 0.736, and then that would be our multiplier. So we could just do 820 multiplied by 0.736, and that would tell us 73.6% of it, and that's equal to 603.52. And if you got that, well done. Okay, let's have a look at another question. So this time I would like you to find 256% of 6,500. So feel free to press pause now and work out 256% of 6,500. Okay, so again, we could take our 6,500 and divide by 100 to find 1%. That's going to be equal to 65. And then take that 65, the 1%, and multiply it by 256. And when we do that, we get that's equal to 16,640. So that means that 256% of 6,500 would be 16,640. Alternatively, we could find our multiplier. So changing this to a decimal would be 2.56, and then we could just do 6,500 multiplied by 2.56, and again that's equal to 16,640. And if you got that, well done. Okay, we've had a look at how to find percentages of amounts using a non-calculator technique, and also we're using a calculator. Now let's look at how to increase or decrease by a percentage. So we're going to increase 700 by 9%, 4,500 by 23%, we're going to decrease 23,400 by 4%, and we're going to decrease 8,000 by 32%. Okay, so feel free to press pause now to try these. Now just before you do, this first question, can you try to do this one using a non-calculator technique and then a calculator technique, and then feel free to use a calculator for the other ones as well. Okay, so give these a shot now. Okay, so let's do this one using a non-calculator technique to begin with. So if I wanted to increase 700 by 9%, well, let's find 1% to begin with. So 700 divided by 100 tells us 1%. So 700 divided by 100 is equal to 7. And then if we take our 1%, which is 7, so 7 multiplied by 9, because we want to find 9%, that's equal to 63. And we wanted to increase this by 9%, so that means we want to add that on. So 700 plus 63 is equal to 763. And if you got that, well done. If it's a decrease it by 9%, we would do 700 take away 63, and then we would have decreased it by 9%. Okay, so that's how you would do that without a calculator. That's quite straightforward. Now, given the fact that we've looked at compound interest before, we've looked at multipliers, so we should know how to increase something by 9%, increase it by 23%, and so on. So to increase something by 9%, we're going to use the multiplier. Well, we'll take our 700, and we're going to use the multiplier. Increasing it by 9% would be 1.09. So we just do 700 multiplied by 1.09, because we're increasing by 9%, so we'll get 109%, which is 1.09. So if we do 700 multiplied by 1.09, that's equal to 763. And if you got that, well done. Okay, next we want to increase 4,500 by 23%. So let's multiply by 1.23, because if we increase by 23%, we'd have 123%, and as a decimal, that's 1.23. So when we do 4,500 multiplied by 1.23, that's equal to 5,535. Okay, next we want to decrease 23,400 by 4%. So we take our 23,400. In terms of a multiplier, we're decreasing by 4%, so we've got 100% to begin with. We're decreasing by 4%, so that'll leave us with 96%. So we're going to multiply by 0.96. So when we do 23,400 multiplied by 0.96, that's equal to 22,464. And if you got that, well done. And finally, we'll want to decrease 8,000 by 32%. So let's take our 8,000 and multiply it by. Well, if we decrease by 32%, we've got 100%, we take away 32%, we're left with 68%. So that'll be 0.68. So if we do 8,000 multiplied by 0.68, that's equal to 5,440. And that's it. So let's look at how we would approach questions that involve simple interest. So here we've got £600 is invested for 2 years at 5% per year simple interest. Work out the total interest. Okay, so £600 put in the bank for 2 years at 5% per year simple interest. So to answer a question like this, what we're going to do is we're going to work out what 5% of the initial amount of money invested is. So we're going to work out what 5% of 600 is, and that's how much interest will be earned every single year. So with simple interest, the amount of interest doesn't change, whereas with compound interest, the amount of interest each year will change. So with simple interest, we'll just work out 5% of the initial amount of money. So let's work out 5% of £600. So let's work out what that is. Now this is going to be a non-calculator question, this one here. Now I'll show you some questions that are calculated and some that are non-calculated in this one. So this is a non-calculator question. So 10% of 600, so that'll be £60. So 10% of 600 is £60. So 5% of 600 would be half of that. So half of £60 would be £30. So that means that 5% of 600 is £30. So 5% of £600 is £30. So with simple interest, that means that £30 is earned every single year. So it's invested for 2 years, so it'll earn £30 in the first year, and I'll earn £30 in the second year. So work out the total amount of interest. We'll just take our £30 and we'll multiply by the number of years, which is 2, and £30 multiplied by 2 will be equal to £60. So it earns £60 interest in total. If the question said work out how much money there'll be in the account after 2 years, that'll be £660. But in this question, it just says the total interest, and that's it. So that's how you answer questions involving simple interest. Whenever you're dealing with simple interest, the amount of interest earned stays the same every single year. Whereas tomorrow we'll look at compound interest, and that's where if money's invested, that each year they earn more interest each year because there'll be more money in the bank account at the start of every single year. Okay, let's look at our next question, and this is a question for you to try. So it says £400 is invested for 3 years at 10% per year simple interest. Work out how much money is in the account after 3 years. So this is a non-calculator question. Feel free to press pause and to try this question now. Okay, so if I was doing a question like this, the first thing I would do is work out what the interest earned every single year would be, and that's 10% of the amount invested. So we need to work out 10% of £400, £40. So that means that 10% of £400 is £40. That means that £40 interest is earned every single year, simple interest. So now it's invested for 3 years, so we now need to multiply this by 3 to find out how much interest is earned in total. So we'll take our £40, the amount earned every single year, and we'll multiply it by 3, and that's equal to £120. So the money earns £120 interest in total. And then it says how much money is in the account after 3 years. So we're going to take the amount of money that was in the account to begin with, which is £400. We're going to add the £120, which is earned in interest, and that's equal to £520. And that's it. So how much money is in the account after 3 years? The answer would be £520. And that's it. And if you got that, well done. Okay, let's have a look at another question. So this time we've got Carolyn invested £900 for 3 years at 2.4% per annum simple interest. Work out the total amount of interest Carolyn earns. Okay, so this question is a calculator question. And if you want to try it yourself, feel free to press pause and work out the answer to this question. Otherwise, I'm going to go through it now in a second. Okay, so if I was answering a question like this, she has £900 that she's investing and it earns 2.4% per annum simple interest. Because it's simple interest, it's the same amount of interest every single year. So we just need to work out 2.4% of 900. So let's take our £900 and we'll divide it by 100 to find a 1%. So if we do 900 divided by 100, that's equal to £9. And then now we know what 1% is, we can multiply by the percentage we want. So we're going to take our £9 and we're going to multiply by 2.4. And that'll tell us what 2.4% of £900 is. So £9 multiplied by 2.4 is equal to £21.60. So with this being simple interest, it means that this account earns £21.60 interest every single year. Now the money's invested for 3 years. So because it earns £21.60 per annum means per year, we're going to do £21.60 multiplied by 3 because it's invested for 3 years. So we're just going to do multiply by 3 and that gives us an answer of £64.80. And because it says how much interest did she earn, which that's going to be £64.80, and that's it. And if you got that, if you tried it yourself and you got that, well done. Okay, let's have a look at our last simple interest question. Now this question is a problem solving question and we're told that Evie's saving up to buy a guitar that costs £149. She opens an account at Corbettmaths that pays 6% per annum simple interest. She puts £600 into the account and she doesn't make any deposits or withdrawals, so she just leaves that in the account. And the question says, after how many whole years will Evie have earned enough interest to buy the guitar? So she wants to buy the guitar just using the interest. So feel free to press pause and to work this out now. Okay, so the first thing that we're told is that she puts £600 in the account. So she's putting £600 in the account and it pays simple interest. It's not compound interest. And that's our video tomorrow. This is simple interest. And she earns 6% per annum simple interest. So let's work out what 6% of £600 is. And that's how much interest she'll earn every single year. So let's work out 6% of £600. So let's take our £600 and let's divide it by 100 to find a 1%. That's going to be £6. So that's 1%, £6. And now we want 6%. So we're going to multiply this by the percentage we want. So we're going to do 6 multiplied by 6 and that's equal to £36. So that means that she will earn £36 interest every single year because simple interest is the same amount of interest every single year. Now she wants to buy the guitar using the interest. So it costs £149. So we can just count up in 36s. So after 1 year, after 1 year, she'll have earned £36. That's not enough for the guitar. After 2 years, she'll have earned £72. Again, that's not enough money for the guitar. After 3 years, she'll have earned £108. Again, that's not enough money for the guitar. After 4 years, she'll have earned £144, which isn't quite enough money for the guitar. So rather than just borrowing £5 or taking £5 out of the account, she's actually going to wait another year. So it'll be 5 years because she was only £5 short at that point. But she's going to wait another year, and after another year, that'll be worth £180 of interest. So after how many whole years will Evie have earned enough interest to buy the guitar? That'll be 5 years. So the answer is 5 years. She'll have to wait 5 years to be able to afford the guitar just using the interest, and that's it.
And that's it. So in this video, we've looked at how to answer percentages questions, and hopefully you found all that stuff useful. In this video also, we've looked at how to increase things by percentage and decrease things by percentage. So percentage is a very important topic. So I know it's usually quite straightforward, so make sure that you're confident with it, but also have a look at the practice questions because you're not entirely sure what situations they might come up with in the exam. So it's just good to do lots of practice with different percentages questions. It's one of those topics too, which comes up quite a bit. So it's very important you can work out percentages of amounts and you can do your simple interest questions and you can increase things by percentage and you can use a multiplier and things like that. So hopefully you found this video useful. There's 39 days to go to your GCSE maths exam, so keep up the hard work. You're doing really, really well. And I'll see you tomorrow for the next video. The next video will be 3 o'clock tomorrow on YouTube, and that'll be 38 days to go. So see you tomorrow. Cheers. Bye.